Welcome back to the Renegade Report. I'm Francis Mayer, Sports Information Director for the greatest athletic department in the known universe. And right now, let me just cut right to the chase. We've got the best men's basketball team in the entire county. Hands down, your Bakersfield College Renegades. They're 19-4. They're 8-1 in the Western State Conference. And right now, we want to welcome Coach Richard Hughes and Coach Aaron Chavez. Last night, guys, more of the same. We went up to Canyons, and the Renegades emerged victorious, 86-61. And we had 5 different guys in double-digit scoring again. Was that the key to the victory? How was our defensive play?
Key to the victory, yes. When we have a lot of guys score, we're good. I mean, that's why we average 85 a game, and we're tough to guard because we got different guys that can score. The defense, I'm looking at Coach Chavez.
Coach Chavez,
there was some Swiss cheese. There was some Swiss cheese out there last night.
How was the defense last night, Coach?
We're getting better and on teaching techniques a little bit, and the guys learning the terms. And what I liked about yesterday was, we were talking on the way back on the bus, is that we didn't really get beat off the dribble as much, and that's huge for us because even DeAndre's on the bus like, Coach, the way these guards are guarding makes my job easier because I don't feel like I have to block as many shots or contest as many shots. So that's good for us because you got to protect the rim. I mean, it's college. I don't care. We were telling the guys yesterday, it's college. We don't care what Canyon's record is. They're going to compete, and they're well coached. I mean, they're really well coached. So, I mean, realistically, we had them at 57 points with about a minute to go, and they got a couple baskets at the very end. So our goal, as Coach says, if we can hold teams in the 60s, we're happy. If they're in the 50s, we're really happy. So with about 35 seconds, I mean, they have 57 points. I mean, overall, as coaches, you always critique. I mean, that's just it's in the blood of every coach across the country. So, I mean, we're happy about it. Do we want to improve? Of course we do.
You look at the stats, and I guess somebody had to score points for Canyons, but it was Victor Nwaba, and he shot well, it looks like, and he scored 24 points, but they didn't have a single other player who was in the double digits. Now we switch over to the Renegades. Jameek had 15 points. Lawrence Moore, 16. Nick Velasquez, back to being the smiling assassin, 8 of 13 from the field, 6 of 9 from beyond the three-point line. And you said that did Nick open scoring yesterday for us? Did he start the game off with a 3?
He's looking at you, buddy.
Yeah, well, Coach had a play that kind of worked, and he started off and he shot well, and we stay with Nick. And Nick, to Nick's credit, he puts a lot of time in. Like he can shoot. I always say, and Coach might disagree with me, I think shooting is probably one of the easiest parts of the game because it's you and the ball. I mean, realistically, it's you and you're in the ball, and it's like riding a bike. If you're good at it, you're natural. You're natural at it. But for as natural it is comes to Nick, he puts a lot of work in. And I've heard this term before. I don't know where I've heard it, but hard work ain't hard when it becomes habit. And Nick has that. To him, he likes being in the gym, and he likes working on his shot, and he puts time in it. So as coaches, you like when your players have success. It makes you feel good that they're successful, and Nick's very deserving of it. He shoots a high percentage, but he works at it. That's the difference. Is he puts a lot of time into his shot, and he has a beautiful form, beautiful follow through, but it ain't just because he just shows up. It's because he works at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Zach spent some time talking about guys who are physical freaks, and we don't see those very often in athletics where you see a guy and go, wow, he was extremely genetically blessed. I feel like we see more of guys who put in hard work. I would agree with you 100%. But Nick wasn't the only one last night who had a good night shooting. I mean, we shot, at least from these preliminary statistics, I know you and Coach go through and make some adjustments for accuracy with the game film. But you shot 56% from the field, almost 47% from the three-point line. The whole team is shooting well right now, right?
Well, we kind of knew, from the first game that we played them that, they couldn't guard us. And you can call it being overconfident. I think like I've stated before, our team gets overconfident sometimes, and we don't play quite as hard as we should. I think that was last night, but they know that they can kind of get any shot they want against them, whether it's zone, man, whatever it is, and it showed in the stats. I mean, we got pretty much any shot that we wanted. The biggest thing would be if we would have been a little bit tighter on defense and caused a little bit more havoc, we would have had a higher score. But that's offensively, I couldn't complain.
And it looks like I'm looking at the roster here. It looks like everybody played last night. Looks like everybody. LaFleur is listed as having a minute, but it looks like everybody else got into the game. Is that right?
Well, we were able to. I wish we would have had a little bit bigger lead later in the second half, so we could have rested some of our guys. But we were able to get everybody in.
Right. And James Pendleton comes into the game and plays 19 minutes. And to me, this is one of my favorite things about this basketball team. And you've brought this up about Nick Velasquez before. Nick shot from the field because that's what we needed from him as a player, but then he went on a little rebounding binge for a while and was in double digits in the rebounds. But you look at Pendleton, he only takes 3 shots last night in 19 minutes, but he had 5 assists, he had a steal, he had a rebound. So he was doing everything but score baskets, it looks like.
Yeah, James, offensively last night he struggled a little bit for him, but, he can pass the ball. He's, one of him and Lawrence Moore and Jameek are our best theft guys. I mean, they get steals, they play the passing lanes, and, James was able to contribute other ways besides, the scoring, because I think last time we played Canyons he had 19, 20 points against them. But, that's every night could be someone different. So that's what makes us, a tough team.
Well, and that's the thing that I ring the bell about to everybody in town, everybody I bump into, is this men's basketball team. They're a blast to watch. Steve Lynch, you've watched a lot of basketball, and this is a team where you're going to see just about every doggone thing you can see happen on a basketball court when these guys are out there.
Very entertaining. I mean, they're one of the top scoring teams in the state. The thing I noticed is they have 4 really good scorers. I think the biggest difference between this year's team and last year's team, they had 2 guys they could rely on every game last year to get 15 points or whatever game. Now they have 4 guys averaging 12.6 or more points a game. When you have Velasquez, you add Velasquez and more, and with Jameek and DeAndre. And then they seem to always get one guy off the bench or, that gets 10 or more points too to throw in that mix. And they're just a lot more dangerous offensively because of Moore and Velasquez adding that dimension from the outside that they didn't have last year. But a very exciting team. You're always going to see some dunks, some highlight reel dunks, whether it's Sky C or DeAndre or whoever. Shane Christie had a couple dunks the last home game. But, a very exciting team. And if people like basketball, they definitely should get out to the Gil Bishop Sports Center this Saturday and watch this team play.
That's right, 5 p.m. Coach Chavez, talk about that matchup this Saturday. I know you're always looking to the future.
Well, I tell Coach last year we played Barstow, and I say, what scares me about Barstow is those guys could take any shot they want. And it's hard when you scout teams like Valley because you don't know what you're scouting for. I mean, they run some sets, they'll run some things, and you know they're going to run certain things. But when you have guys that could take any shot they want, it's harder to prepare your guys for it because we can drop, whatever sets they're running, but you don't know how often they're going to run them. So, if they have an X amount of possessions, they may only run those sets, 4 or 5 possessions throughout the game. So teams like that are just scary. I mean, I like after the game when we won because I say, hey, it worked in our favor, but going into the game, you're worried, and people, our league is very good. I mean, we have a lot of good players in our conference. It be this year or, past years. I mean, it is probably the best league in the state. If not, we got a pretty good argument.
I would say so, yeah.
It's, we're prepared. I mean, we're going to be prepared by Saturday. They're going to come in here, and it's like Coach says, every team wants to beat Bakersfield. And it's kind of going back to the standard that we set, 8-9 years ago when we play. Nobody's going to lay down and say, hey, we're here for you to beat us. I mean, we're just not going to happen. So, just kind of in a way we're thankful for the culture we've created, but the culture we've created has also been because of our former players. And they've created a culture now where people want to beat us. And it's good to hear that people like seeing us play, because us as coaches, we really push on playing as a team and, creating a culture of it's a team. It's not about one guy. It's not about coach. It's not about me. It's about us. And so we're ready. Hopefully Valley, isn't ready and we can win.
Yeah. Oh, well, we absolutely hope that. And, Steve Lynch, I was just thinking it'd be really funny if we had like Renegade basketball bingo, because we could have a lot of different squares, like Christy dunks the ball, DeAndre dunks the ball, Nick hits a tray, Coach wears a red jacket. There's a lot of stuff on there that we could put. This team, they do play team basketball and they're extremely dynamic. Coach Chavez, I've asked Coach Hughes this question many times. I know you've been around basketball your entire life. Your cousin was one of the top female players in the country. How does this team rank in the teams that you've been around? I mean, they seem awfully special to Steve and I.
I think the difference between these guys is like DeAndre was in the office, and I've been, as coaches, you're always trying to influence the kids, that your players. And either it be through 94 feet or just in life. And, the light bulb doesn't always turn. My mom was here this summer, and she says, Aaron, you gain wisdom as you get older. But wisdom comes to different people at different times in their life. And it started, you go home and you drive home, and at least I do. I'm sure Coach does the same thing. You're always thinking about, your players, like how can I be an impact on them? How can I help them? And I had been thinking about DeAndre, and I said, DeAndre's such he's a phenomenal player. I mean, there's no question about it. Anybody watched him knows he's good, but he's a very good person. And he's in the office yesterday, and I had a newspaper in my desk. I didn't even know what newspaper it was. He said, Coach, can I have this? I go, yeah. And he's walking off. He says, and he turns around. And he says, Coach, thank you. And at that second, my mind said, this is the time to tell him. And I said, you know what, DeAndre? He said, I'm telling you, man to man. I said, I very much appreciate you as a person, because your mom raised you right. And when you talk to your mom, you tell her thank you, because very few people in society do that nowadays. And I appreciate that from a coach, from a man to another man to a player. So I think that's just what makes this group special, is that, you got a kid like DeAndre. He's your best player, but he's your best kid. Yeah. And Jameek, all those guys, sometimes, they're going to make mistakes. I mean, that's life. But, I think it starts with that. It starts with having a good group of guys that they want to go in, they want to get better, and we've been very blessed to have a group like this.
I feel like the whole institution is blessed. I got some more questions for you. If you have time to stick around.
Sure, why not?
Well, let's keep them. All right, I love it. Coach Hughes, thank you for your generosity. Don't go anywhere. We're going to spend a little more time with Coach Chavez and Coach Hughes of the extraordinary Bakersfield College men's basketball team. More Renegade Report is coming up next.